So this starts to make some sense now, right? And hopefully it does so far. The next thing I want to talk about is the fact that I've given this a width of 500 pixels, and let's say I picked that as a random number, but if I was looking at my layout and I decided that in Photoshop I've measured this out and I know that this is a 500 pixel wide box, I need to take into account the padding on the left and right before this, and the top and bottom we can talk about as well, but I need to take into account the width here of the padding and the borders. Okay. So if I were to actually use this in my layout, it would be screwed up because it would add the 10 pixels of padding on either side as well as the 1 pixel of border on either side, left and right, and it isn't going to be 500 pixels on the screen. It's going to be more than that. You could also take into account margins, but I'm not in this case because margins you probably added for some reason to separate out your divs. So this box itself without the margins is actually 500 pixels plus the 10 on each side plus the 1 border pixel on each side. Okay, so let's add these. And if I did the math real quick, this is actually 522 pixels in total. Okay, so if I go back to my layout here and look at the layout, it's going to be wider than 500 pixels, and it's going to screw up potentially the sidebar because it's not going to fit if I've given a specific width to the entire site. Okay, because this is now 522 pixels instead of 500 because of the padding and the border. So we need to subtract those extra 22 pixels from the width that I've assigned my sample box 1. Okay, and if I did my math right, this is going to equal 478 pixels. Okay. So this sometimes is a bit of a downfall for people when they're trying to size things, so just be careful with that. Alright, so I'm going to change the width here. Subtract my 22 pixels, and now this will be 478. Alright, so now that plus the padding plus the borders, as we've already seen, will give me the 500 pixels of width that I would like to use in my layout, if this was my layout, which it's not, but if pretend it is. And there you go. And at my actual layout, the margin would be 0, so this margin wouldn't even apply to my real layout. We just use margins here for display purposes. So there you go. Now this is an actual 500 pixel box, including the border, including the padding. It's going to take up the exact same amount of space that you need rather than overflowing into something else.